What do you think, Mouseketeers? Is there too much Star Wars at the park in 2020, or is it just the right amount? Is everything right where you want it to be, or is Star Wars distributed across the park in a weird way? Well, welcome back, Mouseketeers. Let's take a look at all the Star Wars offerings at Disneyland at the moment and see how it's all working. Now, it's fair to say this might be a bit premature as we have both the final movie of the 9-episode saga coming in December and the culminating ride of the new Star Wars land, Rise of the Resistance, in December at Walt Disney World, which both look great and will create a lot of Star Wars energy at the parks. It's also fair to point out that we just made a video saying that all the Star Wars in the park was a great reason to visit in 2020, and we stand by that, especially if you are a fan, so we are not disputing that. Today we want to look at the larger question of, is Star Wars out of balance at Disneyland? I also want to take a second and say that these are my opinions right now. I fully accept that the theme park format is fluid and Disney can and will make changes at any time for a number of reasons. I believe that the Galaxy's Edge that is open today is not exactly what it will be in a year or 3 years. They are in this for the long haul and the land is incredible. That said, I have some observations to share. Let's start by listing the Star Wars attractions at the park, beginning with Galaxy's Edge. It opened with one great ride, Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run, and it has a ton of what I consider to be experiential shops. The Droid Depot, where you can build droids for $100 and buy everything droids, including a $25,000 full-sized R2-D2. And then there's Savi's Workshop, where you can build a lightsaber for $200. And Doc Ondar's, where you can get a Jedi holocron and some other things, and various other shops that specialize in wood carvings, and First Order merch, or Resistance merch, or animal and creature-focused merch, or fun Star Wars toy merch. They did a really great job here with coming up with a bunch of new merchandise to sell in this land, as well as other themed food to buy. So there's a place where you can buy the blue and the green milk, and space popcorn, and the Ronto Roasters, and Docking Bay 7, which really has a solid quick service menu, by the way, and Oga's Cantina, which is the only bar in Disneyland. In addition to this, we have Batuu-specific characters roaming the land, namely Rey, Chewbacca, and Vi Moradi from the Resistance side, and Kylo Ren and a pair of stormtroopers from the Order side. A 2-minute stage show that has happened occasionally has a lieutenant with Kylo in front of Kylo's ship, and it precedes his wandering through the crowds. And not to be overlooked, the penultimate ride of the land, Rise of the Resistance, opens soon and is making the promise that it is the most immersive and technologically advanced ride in Disney park history and will anchor the land. I'm really looking forward to experiencing it. Star Wars is also occupying at least half of Tomorrowland as well. Star Tours continues its run and is updated with each new movie. Hyperspace Mountain is still going strong. This fun overlay on Space Mountain is still running for the moment. The Launch Bay, despite very low crowds, still offers meet and greets with OG characters and lots of cool models from the Star Wars universe. The Tomorrowland Theater, former home to Captain EO, is still running Path of the Jedi, a short enhanced film. Captain Phasma and her stormtroopers still walk the land, and Star Traders is filled almost exclusively with Star Wars merch. They have a toy Build-A-Droid station that has been around for years and is really cute. And finally, the Galactic Grill still has a Star Wars themed menu. And that's a lot. 4 e-ticket attractions with 2 smaller ones, 6 food service locations, 8 to 9 merchandise locations, and several character meet and greets and interactions. Wow. With the movie coming out in December, it's a perfect time to come visit if you are a Star Wars fan, and even if you're not, all of those experiences are very fun. However, it is fair to ask, is an unproportionate amount of attention paid to the Star Wars franchise within Disneyland, and what are they getting right and what are they getting wrong? Another way to put it might be, do I want a Star Wars land in Disneyland, or do I want Star Wars to take over half of Disneyland? I think most of us, even Star Wars fans, would agree that we just want a Star Wars land. I mean, Harry Potter is great, but if that was the entire park, Universal would be something else entirely. When you take in the legacy Star Wars attractions and you combine them with the new ones in Galaxy's Edge, looking at the park as a whole, it kind of seems like a catch-22. Disney with Batuu has promised an immersive land where you can explore and live out personal and interactive Star Wars stories. I mean, this is interesting and attractive, but it is counterintuitive to most things Star Wars currently in Tomorrowland. When in Batuu, you are supposed to be on another planet, a planet in which there is no Disneyland. In Black Spire Outpost, most of the canon's media, namely 8 big-budget movies and 4 TV series and countless books, is something that happened in the long-ago past, and is not relevant to what you're doing in the land. And there is little to no place in this land for any of the attractions in Tomorrowland as is. And the result is a scattered experience, and one where Star Wars is enormously present, but in kind of a slipshod way. I think Disneyland needs to consolidate Star Wars attractions within one land, which should be Galaxy's Edge. I mean, come on. And we are left with a large footprint in the rest of the park that doesn't really make sense. And it's not Disney's fault. It all happened organically over years with the opening of Star Tours in 1987. That's 32 years ago. And Star Wars has been increasing its presence ever since. Starting with the obvious Tomorrowland issues. The iconic 360 Circle Rama Theater building, it is now housing the Star Wars launch bay and is seeing dismal attendance, which usually means it won't be around for long. Nobody is going to miss the models, cool as they are, but what is going to happen to the characters? It makes no sense that Chewbacca or Stormtroopers or Kylo Ren would be here at all now. And it does look like BB-8 will be represented in the Rise of the Resistance riding queue. But Darth Vader, C-3PO, R2-D2, and Captain Phasma, well, they deserve a place in the park. It just shouldn't be Tomorrowland. And I also think the public will want to be able to take pictures with characters and not just interact with them. I predict that before long, some type of traditional meet and greet will happen in Batuu, and these characters will be worked into the Black Spire Outpost story in one way or another. The Tomorrowland Theater would be better served going back to showing previews, rather than the Path of the Jedi, which is nothing more than a sizzle reel from the first 3 Lucasfilms and some LED lighting on the audience tossed in for some mild effect. There needs to be something else in that theater. With the mountains of merch available in Batuu, even Star Trader seems like it should focus elsewhere. I would think the Imagineers would want that to be a reason to go to Batuu anyhow. Why was the toy droid factory not made a part of the droid depot too, so there could be droid building options in Batuu for less than $100? These attractions should be consolidated. For this matter, the droids need to be better represented in the park as a whole. Who was not expecting a BB-8 like the one we interact with in that store, or some kind of droid roaming the land? Hyperspace Mountain is a super fun and strong overlay. I'm glad they did it. But the coaster can stand on its own without Star Wars being a part of it. Let's get Space Mountain back, and we can go back to the holiday overlays too. Star Wars still has a good pull and long lines, and I don't think it's going anywhere. And this might be a little controversial as I ask myself, can you take the Star Wars out of Star Tours? At first I said no, but and yes, of course you can. The ride could almost be themed to anything space flight. It could go back to not having C-3PO as a pilot, and even include Batuu in its mission without it being solely Star Wars stories. Wouldn't even need to change the name. But I also think it is the one ride that could be moved to Galaxy's Edge and still work. The plot is not that far off the story we have with Hondo Ohnaka and Smuggler's Run. Simply, somebody is operating a space tour or transport service, or have it be run by the First Order and the flights could be interrupted by the Rebellion. Galaxy's Edge is great, and Tomorrowland needs updating. And I just think there might be better ways to expand the Star Wars universe without over-diluting Disneyland with the Star Wars IP. My favorite idea is for there to be a Star Wars land in California Adventure that has an attraction vehicle that goes between the two lands like a Hogwarts Express. You know, it's entirely possible Disney has a plan, and with time they will make sense of all the elements they have and create a more holistic experience for the IP. But for now, we can only hope and dream. You know, that's it today for the Disneyland Beat. Please like and subscribe and let us know what you think in the comments below. We'll see you real soon.